What's going on, Ole Miss fans? This is your host, Zach Maref. As always, we're back with another episode with your co-host, Billy Cole. Today, we're going to talk about something that, we really didn't plan on going into, but the amount of buzz and just ridiculous comments on social media. Like I said it in a podcast previously, but I almost respect these media outlets for just using Lane Kiffin to generate as much buzz as possible. Because it's pretty outrageous, some of the things that are being posted. I'm seeing Hayes Fawcett, the guy who does recruit edits and jersey swaps, did a sweatshirt swap for Kiffin and Ole Miss one, and a Florida and LSU. So that's where we're at with college football. It's all about clicks. It's all about money. We're here to tell you that, we kind of disagree with the genuine narrative. You see a lot of these On3 guys going on shows, talking on ESPN that Florida and LSU are better jobs than Ole Miss, which if you want to bring that conversation up 10, 20 years ago, sure. Absolutely. It's a different story. But unfortunately, for a lot of programs out there, name, image, and likeness has taken over the entire landscape of college football. And when you look at the origin of it in 2021, even dating back to 2020, a lot of things were progressing forward. Ole Miss has had 3 10-win seasons since 2020. LSU's had 2. Florida's had, guess how many, Billy? 0. So I understand it. Like, Florida's got this history, Tim Tebow, all this great stuff. But the unfortunate reality is that they haven't been good for a very long time now, especially in the era of NIL. It seems like a very dysfunctional athletic organization, especially in the manner that they fired Billy Napier after a game that they won, after posting on social media that they were going to fire him. I've never really seen anything like that. And similar to LSU, you have the governor making videos on campus saying that he's going to cover the buyout. You have all these different weird leaks going on the day before Brian Kelly gets fired. Then you look at what Keith Carter and Ole Miss are doing. It's almost the complete opposite. We've touched on this, but I mean, Vaught Society, Grove Collective donations are at an all-time high right now. We saw 6 new members join earlier in the week. And what that is, the Vaught Society, is exactly what contributes to Lane Kiffin's salary. And we had 6 new members. That means you're donating $25,000 or more. Ole Miss is doing its part. Their money's not going to be a problem. I mean, people like to claim this little Ole Miss, but you look at the success in the past 5 seasons, the NFL draft picks, having more draft picks than LSU and Florida last year. Ole Miss is not this little brand. It's a national market. And I have no doubt that Lane Kiffin will stay if we make the playoffs. That starts by taking care of business against Carolina, Citadel, Florida, and obviously Mississippi State. But right now, man, it's just a lot of external noise, a little rant there. I want to get your take on just is it worth just getting these clicks for all these national writers, Billy? I can't really wrap my head around it.
I definitely think it is. One, they kind of get paid off that, so it makes sense. They have to build the story around Lane and, the newsworthy stuff. So I understand why they're doing it, but I do disagree with what they are saying. I feel like Lane really has changed his perspective, and it's not just talking about that podcast. I feel like you live it every day when you live here in Oxford. You see him out on the pickleball courts with his coaches and all that. And yeah, he'll get the occasional, hey, coach, and whatever. But for the most part, everyone just treats him like a regular human being. And I think that something that is overlooked by the outside media is just he's a regular guy here. He just happens to be a really damn good football coach. He also preached that this is what happens when you win. People start talking about you and they want you because of the execution and the winning that's going on. And his players have touched on that as well. Like on Tuesday, all the players, Capina, Trace, who's the other one?
Trace, Capina,
Harrison.
Yeah, that's right.
Harrison Wallace. They all talked about this is just what happens. That's we got recruited in here, so we've been through it. So yeah. I can't see him going. And to go back to your point, I understand why they're doing it. I just disagree with what they're saying in the articles.
100%. It makes sense to an extent, but we're at the point where this is probably going to be going on until the end of the season. And I don't plan on, not seeing weird Lane Kiffin edits until then, which is strange, but it's kind of the world we live in. Real quick, I want to touch on some of the things Nick Saban said. Again, this is a guy who Kiffin, I've never seen him look up to anybody like he does Saban to this day, as well as Trey Walsh, another national media writer. Shout out to Trey. Made himself a great point saying that the win over Oklahoma almost secured a playoff bid for Ole Miss, which basically means that unless something crazy happens, you hope that Ole Miss can take care of business, and Kiffin is almost not necessarily forced, but a head coach with a playoff bid with signing day for high school kids in December and the portal coming up in January. There's really no room to even have time to explore those other options. And that's where Ole Miss seems to be. That was just such an unbelievable win, even with that outside noise coming in throughout last week. And then Nick Saban, another guy who bounced around a bunch of different colleges. I mean, Michigan State, one of them. LSU, obviously, spent time in the NFL, but he goes to Alabama. He starts winning, and now we know Nick Saban for being the Alabama head coach. And not that Lane's winning championships on the same level as Saban, but he's known as the Ole Miss coach right now. And he's come out and he said that in podcasts. You watch the documentary, bringing his family here, all these different things. Ole Miss, like Nick Saban said, gives Lane whatever resources he needs to be successful. You look at that Last Dance team, 8 draft picks, unbelievable talent. And 1 year later, as of today, Ole Miss has a playoff bid if they take care of business for the rest of these games. So, yeah, Ole Miss is going to have the resources to compete, which we haven't seen with Florida since the birth of NIL and even beyond that. LSU has struggled with a lot of different coaching changes over the past few years. Ole Miss is stable. It gives Lane what he needs. And in all honesty, with his family here, I don't think there's any rush for him to walk out on a situation that is much different from where he's been in years past. Another thing, just going on to, wanting to keep Lane are these, like I said, these wild donations and support from the Ole Miss fan base, sellout after sellout. And by the way, Bill, let me touch on this. The South Carolina game is sold out.
It is now?
It's the South Carolina tickets that were what they were referring to. The Vaught's been sold out for years. So I don't know. No disrespect. I don't know why the Ole Miss media team, kind of played into that and gave some fuel to the fire for opposing fan bases. But yeah, the Vaught's been sold out for years now, and that's never been a problem. But again, I mean, this is
the only problem is the actual attendance of
right.
Who bought the tickets.
Yeah. So this is kind of a calling for the next 3 weeks to get as many students there as possible.
And I understand that, they do take on the Citadel, who is an FCS team, and historically Ole Miss fans don't show up for those games. But I don't know. This feels like one time where the Ole Miss fans are being called, and it's going to play a major factor on if your coach that you really want to stays or not.
100%. Yeah, I'm not recording this podcast to tell you guys that Lane Kiffin's staying. I think right now on October 29th, things are in the right direction. But anything can happen, man. And bottom line is this team has to get in the playoffs, and that starts with having really good home environments. So, yeah, the students, the fans, you got to be on your feet. Doesn't matter where you're sitting in the stadium, creating noise and a really good home atmosphere. Another point, kind of one of the final ones that I'll touch on, is everyone talks about these resources that he'll have at Florida and LSU, which I think are very similar to the ones he has at Ole Miss. But think about what Kiffin can do. Returning Kewan Lacey, returning Winnie Watkins, almost every starting defensive lineman, a lot of those guys in the secondary who saw to develop, Deuce. And LSU, Penn State, Florida, and Arkansas don't have head coaches. Imagine what a guy like Lane can do with donations at an all-time high with 4 very talented programs with guys who are going to want to enter the transfer portal. It feels like another opportunity for Ole Miss to not do what they just did for that Last Dance team, but somehow make it even better and learn from their mistakes and make it the best team Ole Miss football has ever had, not only with talent, but team chemistry and all those things, and a coaching staff who's been through the pressure, has been through the expectations. All those different things play into consideration for next season, and that's on the table, no doubt, if Lane Kiffin decides to stay at Ole Miss. I mean, I want to get your thoughts on that real quick, Billy, because it feels like if he ends up staying, they're in a really good situation to kind of go on a crazy little offseason portal action run.
I think it's just fueling fire to the portal king. That's what
Right?
they call him at this point, right? I mean,
Yeah.
look what he's done in the past few years, and then look at all these prestigious programs that no longer have stability and players are unsure. They're going to look somewhere with stability. And this is no diss at Alabama. It's just Kalen DeBoer is so new to that job, and the fans obviously like him right now because he's winning games, but at the beginning of the year, they were calling for his buyout. So
That was interesting.
that was very interesting.
Yeah.
But then you go to Ole Miss and you look at them and you're like, wow, this is a real up and coming program that's becoming very stable and competitive every single year. Also,
100%.
they're known to dish out the NIL money. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's a big thing for the transfers.
Yeah, if Kiffin stays and Ole Miss makes the playoffs, it feels like the stars are aligning to really revamp that roster and, send 8 to 10 guys to the NFL draft again. And this is going to become a consistent thing as Ole Miss, as long as Lane stays here and understands that, like Nick Saban did, he can make this his personal dynasty, something he's been trying to do at Tennessee, USC, and the NFL since he started his career. The final thing. You do have to consider the family aspect. I know money talks. I get it, even though I don't think that's even a problem in this negotiation cycle with Kiffin. But you think about Landry still being at Ole Miss, not graduating until 2027. Knox Kiffin just showing up, playing high school ball here. His brother, Chris Kiffin, coming here with his kids who are now getting acclimated into Oxford. Layla, his ex-wife, moving here. And beyond the family, think about a guy like Joe Judge, former NFL head coach who's the quarterback analyst. He's at Ole Miss because his son goes to school here. Half those guys, half the people, Pete Golding's wife, an Ole Miss, former Ole Miss sorority girl, loves Oxford. I mean, you have to really consider the things that you're leaving behind if you're Lane Kiffin. I get it, the brand, the reputation, and former success of LSU in Florida, but this is a very different time period of college football. And it would almost feel like everything that Lane said he's grown upon would just be thrown in the garbage if he makes this decision. It just doesn't make sense from a lot of different standpoints, especially the family one, which has seemingly become really important to Lane.
I actually just got an email. I want to touch on the family stuff right after. I just got an email because it popped up on my Mac. It's a great time to be an Ole Miss Rebel. Your Rebel football team returns to Oxford this Saturday to host the South Carolina under the lights at 6 p.m. Your Rebels need a packed student section. This is something that they are pushing for so insanely hard. I'm getting emails on Wednesday, and it's like, if you cannot make the game, transfer your ticket to someone who can. If you're not willing to stay the whole time, transfer your ticket to someone who is. Like, they are pushing for this. They are pushing for that environment. And Lane touched on this in his Monday press conference. He was asked what makes Georgia and Oklahoma such hostile environments. It's like their fans show up before the game, and they care so much that they're in their head before the game even starts.
Exactly.
So I just wanted to touch on that.
The pregame chirps are essential.
And I was at the Georgia game last year as a student. I wasn't covering full time or anything like that. And I made sure to get in the game nice and early. I was there right when the gates opened at 12:30, and it was full. And as soon as Kirby Smart showed face, the whole student section was just screaming at him.
Yep.
Chants that I'm not allowed to say on air. It's just –
it makes a difference.
It makes a difference. It makes a huge difference.
Absolutely.
Go ahead. To go back on your family thing. Yeah, that's been the biggest thing for me. Is like Knox is now starting at Oxford as a sophomore. Landry is only a junior. And it just all aligns.
Yep.
For his family to stay here and for him to stay here and build that legacy we keep talking about.
I'm going to touch on something. This is the last quick thought. I know I keep saying that, but I got a funny story for you and the listeners, Billy. So I got a text from a good friend saying a Florida fan was texting people saying Knox Kiffin was going to transfer to IMG Academy. Here's where it gets better. The quarterback for IMG Academy is the best player in Knox Kiffin's class in the country. His name's Jaden Wade, and if you watch his tape, he looks like a taller version of Lamar Jackson. So no, I do not think Wayne is going to send his son to sit behind the next coming of Lamar at IMG Academy. It honestly made me laugh.
And I mean, Knox is already paving himself 2 comeback victories. I understand that he was supposed to be a backup probably until his senior year due to I always forget his name, and I feel so bad because he's really good at football.
I know.
But he was expected to be a backup until his senior year. But then, they're losing. Coach says, we need to switch. Knox goes in there, leads them to that comeback win. Gets off to a little bit of a rough start last week on Friday and ends up scoring like 30-something unanswered points to win the game. It's ridiculous. And Knox is just proving himself at such a young age that, I don't know, I can't see him leaving or doing anything like that.
Yeah, also Mississippi football is like very good.
Yes.
I know.
Like Clinton is not who they beat last week is not a bad football team at all. They're a pretty solid program.
Yeah, so there's so much buzz, and I didn't even think we needed to make this, but after last week, I somehow am seeing more Kiffin stuff online. I felt like it was necessary. As of right now, there's absolutely no reason to panic, Ole Miss fans. I mean,
and unfortunately for Ole Miss fans, that tweet about him saying I'm staying right, like here, was not what he said.
Yes.
He said, I'm pretty sure it was, we own this stadium, if I'm not mistaken. So sorry to break that news to anyone who still believes that, but that's not what he said.
I know.
But I think the celebration and him trying to teach his players to live in the moment is a positive sign of him staying in Oxford.
Absolutely. Billy, anything else on the Lane Kiffin saga?
Nothing right now. I think we got it all, unless something crazy comes up.
Right. Yeah, we'll keep you guys posted, but most importantly, fans got to show up, get rowdy in the Grove and get in that stadium early. Let's be loud. For kickoff at 6 p.m. against South Carolina, as always, check out therebelwalk.com. Follow us on social media. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. Hotty toddy and go Rebs. Thanks, guys.